Hello, everybody. Let me just get this stream going for us here on the Log Show on WSJU Radio. I'm Logan here with y'all today, and what a week in sports did we have? My God. Johnny Bones Jones shows up in the UFC and makes an impact in his first fight back. My God, absolute dominance over Cyril Gahn. Today, we've had a bunch happen in the NFL when it comes to free agency. The combine was late last week and ended early this week. We'll talk about the draft, free agency. NBA, we got a lot going on in the NBA. We got the Knicks on a 9-game win streak. We got the Nets. What's going to happen with them? And a lot more there. And not only that, for you baseball fans, we got the World of Baseball Classic starting tonight, which will be entertaining. It's always something fun to watch. The USA always has their stars there, along with other countries. We'll talk about that if we have time. But to start the show off today, we are starting in the world that I know the best, and we are starting off in the NFL. And I do want to start off here talking about the combine first, because I did not get to watch most of the combine just because personally, as good as the information is in the combine, there's certain things about the combine you just have to know and figure out. And that's that one, at the end of the day, it's like playing in your backyard. There's nothing really crazy about the combine that makes it stand out in any way and really makes it yes, these stats are somewhat important, but really, in my opinion, do they really tell you everything about a player? No, I think they really show you about 1/4, maybe half of the picture of what a player can be. Because once you put on pads, once you get past OTAs and you're really in training camp and you're hitting, everything changes. But there are two huge storylines out of this combine, and that is one, the quarterbacks, and two, there's stuff about the O-line that I will get to later, because I do want to talk about the quarterbacks. Every year there's there's a quarterback who goes into the combine and is very, very, very athletic and shoots up draft boards based off their combine. This year, that quarterback is Anthony Richardson. And my God, Anthony Richardson 100% put on an amazing performance in the combine this year. He was first for quarterbacks in the 40-yard dash, the broad jump, and he had the highest vertical. He ran a 4.43 40, had a new record for quarterbacks in broad jump with a 10-foot 9-inch broad jump. Sorry about that. And had a 40.5-inch vertical, which is insane. So it's clearly a specimen, athletically, clearly an athletic specimen. Anthony Richardson from Florida, clearly has that type of talent. But where's his floor, being that Florida obviously didn't win a bunch of games? He wasn't a Heisman candidate. There wasn't this, there wasn't that. So really, what is the issue with Anthony Richardson, where that athleticism wasn't really translating into games, is what you have to watch on film. But besides that, he threw pretty well. I always take those throwing, when it comes to the pro day and the combine, I always take those throwing drills with a grain of salt, because yes, wow, he can throw it 60 yards and that was a dot, but there's nobody on the dude. You know what I mean? There's nobody on, covering the receiver. And then when it comes to incompletions, there's also the opposite argument of, well, this receiver and quarterback have never played together. You watch some of that, and you watch this receiver run a route, and there's cones set up for the route he's supposed to run, and the receiver at the end of the route is nowhere near the cones. So, when it comes to those types of drills, especially for quarterbacks, I take them with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, Anthony Richardson also looked good there. He was throwing the ball deep. Everyone was scared of his accuracy issues. I know that was one thing going into the draft that people were scared about. Was pretty accurate, but again, you're throwing to a wide open wide receiver, so you know what I'm saying? But so Anthony Richardson definitely shot up draft boards. I knew going into the combine that he was going to because I just heard everybody talking about it. Rappaport, all these analysts, Orlovsky and Pat McAfee. Everyone was talking about this dude. So I definitely saw it coming, and I could definitely see a team like the Colts buying into the hype with Jim Irsay being who Jim Irsay is, and just buying into that hype, trading up to one against the Bears and maybe drafting him. But nonetheless, the consensus number one at the moment, Bryce Young did not participate, which I feel like while I said I don't always love these pro days and combines, I feel like it's just good to participate for the quarterbacks and skill position players. I'll get to the O lineman later. I think it's always good to participate because you show that I'm willing to make a mistake. I want to put my best on paper, but with that, you have to. There's a chance you make a mistake. You look at someone like Max Duggan. His draft stock actually probably fell after the draft because he didn't look very accurate. As much as he was athletic in college and doing all this well in college. The combine didn't look great for him because he wasn't very accurate when he was throwing to these wide with these receivers and stuff like that. But then again, you could argue he's never thrown to these receivers before. But Bryce Young, I feel like you always should participate, especially with the performance that CJ Stroud put on. When it is as close with these 1 and 2 picks, I feel like it's better for Bryce Young to participate because CJ Stroud definitely with a combine performance could have wowed someone again, like the Colts who have already said that they like CJ, to trade up and draft him instead of Bryce Young. Because CJ Stroud looked to be what everybody thinks he is. He looked very accurate. He was throwing the ball deep. He was doing what he needed to do. So CJ Stroud, from what I saw and from what I've heard, even though I didn't really watch much of the combine, he was accurate. He had a strong arm, but you know, like I said, Duggan didn't look very accurate. He didn't do very well. Will Levis, I believe it is pronounced after out of Kentucky. He definitely, I feel like, shot up draft boards a little bit because he looked almost as good as C.J. Stroud, if not a tiny bit worse. But I also feel like when you come out of a school like Kentucky, that always brings issues because it's like, yeah, you look good all year, and you looked good in the combine, but who'd you really play? You went to Kentucky, like yeah, you're an SEC school, but you're not Alabama. You're not your strength of schedule isn't great. And then lastly, when it comes to the quarterbacks, Stenson Bennett, he he didn't do terrible. He didn't do great. Like obviously, yeah, he was accurate. He had an average arm. He didn't have a great arm. But obviously, you just have the issues of the fact that he's already 25 and he's 5'11. So he's short, and not everyone's Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Not everyone's playing until they're 40. On average, I feel like quarterbacks retire probably early 30s. So like, I mean, I guess if you're a team and you feel like since 5 years of Stenson Bennett, you feel like if Stenson Bennett could step in right now and you could get 5 solid years out of him, then maybe you take a shot on him in like the second, third, or like the third round, maybe fourth. You know what I'm saying? And see what happens. Maybe he has a Dak situation where he steals the spot, or wherever he gets drafted, the starter gets injured, etc. So I don't know. Also, what's his name out of Tennessee? I can't remember his name right now, but the Henderson. Can't remember his first name, but he did not participate. He's still recovering from an ACL injury, but I feel like he's a good quarterback to definitely take a shot on. The other big thing definitely to come out of this draft combine was the O lineman. And why I say that is O linemen, two of them got injured doing these drills in the combine. One was a top 100 pick. His name is Andrew Voorhees at a USC. And he ended up tearing his ACL in like a 3-cone drill or something like that. And it really brings up the point. It's like, why are they doing this? When does an O lineman ever have to run 40 yards in a dash? Tell me. We have these O linemen doing like, yes, all right, have the O linemen if they want to come and participate in the combine, bench press and this and that. And I don't understand why they're doing some of the same stuff the skill dudes are doing. I don't understand the 40-yard dash. I don't understand the 3-cone drill. I don't understand these are big dudes. These are really big dudes. You know what I mean? They're like 300, 400 pounds. These are big dudes. But like, so yeah, why are they running a 40-yard dash where it's hard for his body to hold? It's hard for a human body to naturally hold 300 pounds, even if it is, mostly muscle. I think it's unfair to them. I think if they continue to force them to do this, O-linemen of the future in college should maybe take a step back, maybe go. I like this argument over skill position players because skill position players, you're going to have to, a cornerback's going to have to, you want to know what a quarterback's 40 is. You want to know what a wide receiver's 40 is. You want to know what these people, those skill position players, even a quarterback, I kind of want to know is 40. When it comes to O-linemen, I don't care. And if they're going to force me to do it, I'm not going to. I'd rather not participate. That's why I said earlier, when it comes to skill position players, I feel like everyone should participate. When it comes to the big guys, if they're going to force you to do these things that are putting your body at risk, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like now Andrew Voorhees is going to drop. He just lost millions of dollars if you think about it. And people don't think about it that way. They think about, oh, it's tragic. Oh, it sucks. He's going to get injured, but oh, he's still going to get drafted. Yeah. But like you also have to think about it. The difference in being a top 100 pick and being like a fourth, fifth round pick, that's significant. That is a significant amount of money you're losing at that point. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands and thousands of dollars. So I don't see the point. But with the combine comes the draft. That means it is draft season, everybody, and draft season is great. I mean, draft season's always fun. It's speculations, it's trades, it's what's going to happen. It's all guessing game because really, who knows? Who knows? Bryce Young could go number 1 overall to whoever. Who knows if he's going to be good? Bryce Young could step into the league and be the worst quarterback in NFL history. Who knows? C.J. Stroud could do the same. Max Duggan, who looked bad, could be the opposite. He could be the next Tom Brady. Nobody knows. Who knew that Patrick Mahomes was going to be the next Tom Brady when the Chiefs drafted him at 12 back then? Who knew that Jamarcus Russell? Remember him, everyone? Jamarcus Russell was supposed to be amazing. The man got sent empty film once and said there was blitz packages on it. We don't know, but it's so much fun just speculating and guessing. Everybody likes it. The Bears right now are sitting with the most leverage in the draft because they're picking number 1 overall, but I don't see the point in picking number 1 overall. There are teams I definitely see making a play for this pick. I see the Bears more likely than not trading down. I think the most likely scenario is Indianapolis. I think the Colts are most likely to trade up. They are at a spot where if the Bears trade down, 4 isn't too far down where they're really losing much. You could still get the defensive player you want probably at 4 if you are Chicago. So the Colts, and honestly, the Colts are very, very, very desperate for a quarterback. Look what they did the past 2 years. The past 2 experiments were absolutely terrible. Don't even get me started on the Carson Wentz experiment. Man, sprained both his ankles at some point. On a single play, sprained both his ankles. Like, huh? Are you serious? And then Matt Ryan was arguably worse. So that you need a quarterback, you need a young quarterback. You can't take an experiment on another veteran QB. You just don't have that patience if you're Jim Irsay, like to take another attempt on a vet because it's failed twice. Same thing if you're Chris Ballard. You know your job's in jeopardy. You need a young quarterback who's going to be a stud too. So they need to move like this ASAP. They need a young quarterback, whether that be C.J. Stroud, whether that be Bryce Young, whether that be Anthony Richardson. But I think the Colts are the most likely to make that move. What they give up is probably a 1 this year or 1 next year because that's what the Bears are asking for. At minimum, it's those 2 and probably a third or probably another like late rounder, mid to late rounder. Maybe you throw a second in there too. Like maybe there's a second and a late rounder in there, like a next year's second and a this year's fifth type deal. I don't know what the deal would look like, but I think the Colts are definitely the most likely. I feel like we could all agree on that, most people who think about this. Next is the Texans, who I think a lot of people think is very likely. I don't at all because they have two. They have 2 and 12. I think it's better to have 2 and 12 than just have one because I think that's what the Bears would ask for. I think they're going to be like, all right, give us 2 and 12 for one. Give us 2 and 12. And I don't think it's worth it at all. And then if you're the Bears, I know they don't want 12. And if you're the Texans, it's not worth making. The only reason you would feel like it's worth making the move with the Bears is to prevent the Colts from making the move. But if you're the Texans, I think I'd rather sit there and go, both of these guys at the top in CJ and in Bryce Young are kind of equal, where I will take the second one. Honestly, they're both a guy. I think they're both going to be studs in this league personally. And if the Texans feel the same way, then I definitely go, all right, let the Colts take a bet. Maybe they slip and make Anthony Richardson, and we still get the choice. Because if you're the Texans, you're in a bad spot of Texans. Texans are in complete rebuild mode. You have absolutely nothing. So I think you keep the future draft capital, stay at 2, stay at 12, draft a big player on the defense at 12, a nice QB at 2, and you build around that for your future. Next, we have all these three teams are tied, and they're kind of all for similar reasons. It's the Seahawks, Atlanta, and Carolina. Seahawks are for a different reason. Atlanta and Carolina, I just feel like, yes, they want to make the move, but they're going to have to give up a lot because of how far back they are. Do the Bears want to go as far back as Atlanta at, I believe, 8, or Carolina at 8 and Atlanta at like 9 or 10? I don't know. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. Those I feel like are unlikely. Same thing with the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks are still said they're still there was a report today that they were still down to pick a quarterback, even though they just re-signed Geno to a 3-year deal, 105 mil. So you look at that. I don't know if they're necessarily going to trade up then because they just signed Geno. So it's like maybe we go with a Will Levis at 5 or an Anthony Richardson if all three of those guys, if only 2 of those guys fall, if one falls to me at 5, which I could see happening because the only person outside of them in the top 5 I could see drafting a quarterback is Indianapolis and then Houston. So I could definitely see Seattle wanting to make that move, but if I'm Seattle, I'd rather sit at 5, not have to give up capital. I just paid Geno, draft someone. If I'm Seattle, I'm honestly hoping for an Anthony Richardson, and if that's my dude, that's the only reason why I maybe trade up is because I'm scared the Colts are going to pick an Anthony Richardson, maybe. But I don't know. I say if I'm the Seahawks, I stay at 5. I stay at 5. Hope Anthony Richardson falls. If not, I have a backup pick and sit there. You know what I mean? That's what I like if I'm Seattle. Draft season is upon us, but also free agency has slowly crept upon us with the new league year starting, I believe, March 5th or something like that, or maybe it was February 25th. And a lot has happened since the new league year has started, and a lot has happened over the past weekend. And I'm going to start with this because this is the big thing I want to talk about, and then we'll get in the big news from today. Derek Carr has signed signed with the New Orleans Saints. 4-year, 150 mil is the reported deal initially. But then Rappaport went on the Pat McAfee show and kind of really explained it. And he said that it's more like a 2-year, $70 million deal where he is guaranteed 30 mil in the first 2 years. And if he is still on the roster in year 2, he's guaranteed 10 mil in year 3. 150 is the total he could get, including incentives. He's guaranteed 100, and that is if, like, hypothetically, God forbid, knock on wood, Derek Carr tears his ACL week 1, career over. That's when he gets the 100. So that's that contract kind of explained for you guys in like detail from what I found out. But nonetheless, Derek Carr is a New Orleans Saint. Welcome to the squad, Mr. Carr. It is exactly what I wanted to happen. I talked about it, I believe, 2 weeks ago, last time I was on this show. You look at the Saints roster and you look at the NFC South, Derek Carr signing to the Saints easily makes them the best team in this division, right? Like nobody's questioning that. I want to just clarify. Like nobody is questioning that Derek Carr makes this team the best team in the NFC South, right? I think it's very obvious. I think they have the best surrounding cast with Michael Thomas hopefully coming back and not breaking his ankle and doing what he does every year, hopefully going back to at least a quarter to or at least half of what he produced, at least. Chris Olave seems to be a stud. He'll be a great weapon for Derek Carr. You have Kamara, as long as he stops these off the field issues, he's a weapon. And then you have a very, very good defense that Derek Carr really never had in Oakland. I feel like the best Oakland team he played on, or Las Vegas now, but I feel like the best Raider team he played on was possibly this past year's Raiders. But did they really have that good of a defense? No. And outside of Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs? So that he has some weapons, but like how great is that offensive line? He's on a much better squad and with a lot more talent. Do I think this make the Saints a favorite to win the NFC? No. I think they make them like a team like that could possibly catch lightning in a bottle and win the division 3 seed, 4 seed, kind of go on a run. I feel like that could definitely happen as long as Dennis Allen's coaching kind of improves this year. I really like, and I'm really hopeful for Derek Carr in a Saints uniform and to see what happens. But speaking of quarterbacks on the move, we have a huge, huge news today that after his darkness retreat, Aaron Rodgers has finally come out and reported, and it's been reported that he has been given permission, right, from the Packers to go talk with the Jets. And it was also reported that the Jets traveled to Green Bay today to talk with Aaron. Now, Aaron has said multiple times on the Pat McAfee show that he's on regularly, if it's not from my inner circle, don't take it with a grain of salt. And my inner circle doesn't say anything. So I don't know how true all of this is. I believe it is true because I think it's more coming from the organizations than it is Aaron Rodgers. So him talking to the Jets is huge news for the Jets. I think him on the Jets makes the Jets definitely a potential. I don't know. It's definitely a difficult division. So I don't know. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is unbelievable, and what he's done with terrible Packers teams is unbelievable. So I feel like Aaron Rodgers on the Jets definitely gives them a playoff spot and a chance to maybe, win the division because, the Bills probably you split with. You could probably beat the Dolphins twice with Aaron Rodgers, in all honesty. So Aaron Rodgers with the Jets would be definitely interesting, and I think it's going to be fun to see what happens here. I don't know. From what I've heard, it's all up to Aaron. So whatever he wants happens, and we'll find out soon what his decision is. Hopefully, whether that's leaving Green Bay, what position that puts Green Bay in is very interesting. Is Jordan Love now your guy? I feel like you definitely have to try it for a year, but you saw potential in him last year, but I really don't know. You got the Jets team, you got Breece Hall, you got Garrett Wilson, you got a very young team here in New York. So Aaron Rodgers can come into that young team, be a vet that they need to hear from to really learn what it's like to be in a winning culture that Aaron Rodgers was in. Robert Saleh's trying to bring in from San Francisco over the past couple years. So it's really interesting to see how this is going to build up and see how this really unfolds over the next couple days. Hopefully, by the time I come back next week, we really have a report and we know where Aaron Rodgers is going to be. But as of right now, we don't. So what's going to happen here with the Jets and Green Bay, it's very – keep your eye out for it 100% over the next couple days. Other big news for free agency, Calvin Ridley, after signing with the Jaguars, he's been reinstated. after a year suspension for gambling while he was injured. He will never do that again, he has said. So there, welcome back Calvin Ridley, who is a great weapon and a great addition for this Jaguars team. Who really surprised a lot of people this year, really surprised me. I've said multiple times on this show. We're my surprise team of the year, I said on this show. But a great weapon for Trevor Lawrence and that team to see how they can use this weapon. It's going to be a great addition for a team that I feel like is the future of the AFC South. I feel like they don't have much competition down there, especially with Derrick Henry now being added to the trade block, which, by the way, I said this, I tweeted this out. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, I don't tweet often. I'm trying to tweet more often, but I don't tweet that often. But definitely follow me on Twitter if you want to hear more takes and hear from me more often. But I said, yo, imagine the Chiefs just say, screw all these picks. I'm going all in. Give me King Henry. Imagine. Bro, imagine. How crazy would that be? Oh, man. That's what the football fan wishes. The football fan wishes. Just like how everybody wishes for these super teams on the low, like in their heart. 100% do I hope that could happen. That would be arguably the greatest football team ever assembled, in my opinion, or offensively at least. Wow, what could. But I like to speculate where King Henry's going to go. I don't really know as of right now. Never really thought it through that he would ever honestly be up for trade. But my first thought when I heard about it was imagine he goes to the Chiefs, and I just can't. But speaking of the other New York team, instead of continuing on about Derrick Henry, the Giants, I mean, they feel closer to a deal with both Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. They're working towards a deal. They have until, I believe it's until next Monday to get the deal done before the tag deadline, or it's either this Wednesday or next Monday, which I know is a huge difference, but I don't really remember off the top of my head. And I know, but they're hoping to get that deal done ASAP and really move forward with that. Jones is definitely asking for a lot. Is he going to get, especially with Derek Carr getting $40 million a year? I feel like now Jones has a better argument, or $30 million a year. I feel like Jones definitely has the argument for it, for 30 to 40, but I don't know if he'll get it. Maybe 35, similar to Derek Carr, that type of sense. But they feel close. Tony Pollard gets tagged by the Cowboys, which is big for them. They bring him back. Evan Ingram gets tagged by the Jaguars, so again, another weapon they bring back. Orlando Brown not tagged by the Chiefs, which I feel is huge. He's a very, very one of the premier left tackles in the league. So for him to become available, hopefully him and the Chiefs get a deal done. I feel like the Chiefs definitely want to get a deal done with him. But for them to move on from him would be a big deal, in all honesty. Orlando Brown is a franchise left tackle. They do not become available often, so him not getting tagged I feel like is big. And then the other big news when it comes to the franchise tag is Lamar. It doesn't seem like they're going to get a deal done. It seems like he's going to get tagged. And I talked about this on the show repeatedly over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Lamar Jackson is the asset you need to keep. He is how I talked about Aaron Judge last season for when it comes to baseball. You cannot just really, you can't just let him walk. You can't, especially if it's a non-exclusive tag. And if it's the non-exclusive tag, you're in trouble. You really are. You're in trouble if you're Baltimore, because I don't see a way that it really someone doesn't go, I'll give up 2 firsts for Lamar Jackson. It's Lamar Jackson, especially if you're a team that you feel like you're a quarterback away from winning. Hypothetically, right? If you're the Seahawks, I know you just signed Geno. Lamar becomes available. You don't take it with the way your team played last year. If you're the Colts, you don't go, screw these young guys. Let me take Lamar Jackson. Really? I find that very, very hard to believe. That I feel almost any team would do. I could argue even with the Saints paying $150 million, Lamar comes available. I go give up 2 picks for Lamar and trade Derek Carr. Like I don't know. If Lamar comes available, that is huge, and you cannot let that happen. He shouldn't get tagged. He's worth every penny in the book, I feel. So that not happening is big. That story is going to be huge, and it's just going to continue to unfold. And I feel like unfold poorly for Baltimore. And if it ends with Lamar leaving, Baltimore Ravens fans, you should really be upset. You should. You should be incredibly upset if this ends with Lamar leaving. You should be mad at your GM, your owner, your franchise as a whole that they didn't realize the asset of Lamar Jackson and what he is to your squad. But that's enough on that. That's enough on the NFL. I know it's a good refresher now that news stories are happening. I haven't talked about the NFL for that long, in a couple weeks. Season's over. You think I couldn't get a half hour out of the NFL, but here we go. As a football fan, here we are. But we are going to move on to basketball because we are back from the All-Star break in full swing, and the Knicks are on a roll, baby. 9-game win streak. 6 of them after the 6 straight since the All-Star break. 4 out of those 6 wins have been by double digits. They play Charlotte tonight, which hopefully is a 10th win. And get a big win against Boston in double overtime on Sunday, where Emmanuel quickly went off. He dropped 38. You had that thriller in Miami on, I believe, Friday, where Julius Randle hit one of the nastiest buzzer beaters I've ever seen. Said, "Let me fade away in your throat." Oh my God, what a shot by Julius Randle. He wins the game for the Knicks. They also mollywopped Brooklyn last week. So the Knicks are on a roll right now. They want to keep that going, especially going into playoff time. At first, I was scared if the Knicks ended up playing the Cavs. I was like, can the Knicks really beat the Knicks? Definitely could beat this Cavs team in a series. Not only can they, I think that is easily a 6-7 game series. Right now, it is set up for the best series in the playoffs, in my opinion. I think that is going to be a dogfight, similar to how the Atlanta one was a couple years ago. If I could get to another Knicks playoff game, I'd love that. I'd love to watch them play Cleveland. But nonetheless, the Knicks are on a roll, and I hope they keep that going. Brunson has been off. He tweaked, I believe, his ankle, did not play against Boston. But since the All-Star break, he's been averaging 22 points, 6 assists, 3.5 rebounds. He's been playing at, even though he's not an All-Star, I think he should be an All-Pro. I think he's an All-NBA player, or All-NBA is what it is in the NBA. I think he's All-NBA, probably not All-NBA first team, but he's an All-NBA player. You get 3 All-NBA teams, he's 100% an All-NBA player. The way Jalen Brunson has been leading this Knicks team, I was scared about it. I didn't believe in it. I was proved absolutely wrong. He made Julius Randle back to what Julius Randle is, because Julius Randle doesn't have to worry about carrying this team, especially when RJ doesn't show up, which seems to never happen anymore, because Jalen Brunson said, "We don't need you anymore, RJ. I will score. I will facilitate. I will do everything for this Knicks team that I need to do." He has been the key to this Knicks team. The Knicks knew what they were getting. I didn't, and it's been a great signing for the Knicks so far. Julius Randle also, since the All-Star break, has been playing at an elite level. He's averaging 32, 4, and 7 since the All-Star break. And just what a obviously, I talked about that buzzer beater in the 43-point game against Miami on Friday. He also dropped 31 and 8 against Boston on Sunday. He's been playing back to where he was when we made the playoffs. When he was an All-Star that year, he's been playing great, and I feel like it's because he doesn't have to worry about taking the ball up, and he doesn't have to worry about he's not running. It's not Point Julius anymore that I complained about at the beginning of the year and that I always hated was Point Julius. It's not that anymore. It's the Julius Randle that was an All-Star that plays off ball. Well, he'll do a little something sometimes. He'll hit you a little a little east bat, a little something and hit a 3 in your face every once in a while. But he's not trying to do that on every play anymore. So they're going in more often. He's not just chucking them up all game. Now he's hitting them at an efficient rate, and he's been playing well. Quickly has been stepping up since the All-Star break too. He's averaging 21 points since the All-Star break, so he's been playing very well, especially obviously that 38-point game helps, but he's been playing well. So the Knicks are on an absolute roll. Like I said, hopefully they could keep this going. As of right now, they are sitting at 5 in the East, playing the Cavs. The way that the Knicks and Cavs are both playing, I feel like whoever has a home court advantage in that series probably wins because it probably goes to 7. And I can't see the Knicks losing in 7 at home, in all honesty, especially this Knicks team that they've now been to the playoffs before, in all honesty. Brunson went to the playoffs with Memphis last year. So I feel like this Knicks team is set up pretty well for the playoffs and moving forward. So I feel whoever wins that series would be home team, and hopefully it's the Knicks, and hopefully I could go to one of those games. The Nets last 3, they've won back-to-back games after losing to the Knicks. Miles Bridges has been going absolutely off since the trade. He dropped 38 against Boston, had the Nets beat them, and then in a win against Charlotte, dropped 33. Miles Bridges, he's been playing like an absolute animal since the trade, been scoring by will, in all honesty. So with the amount of games left, I doubt the Nets slip out of the playoffs like completely. So if they do end up in a 7-game series against someone and don't end up, losing, they could definitely squeeze a play-in game out 100%. And I think they could definitely scare a team. I don't think they could win a series. I think they could scare a team, like the Clippers from a few years ago, like that, where they're like, oh, what? How'd they win game 1? And then they lose 4. And they lose in 5 type deal. So I don't really know how that's going to go, but the Nets are definitely going to make the playoffs. And I think they're a team that is going to – I think, in all honesty, if you are the 1 seed or the 2 seed, the Nets is the team you want to play because they can steal a game or 2 from you, and it's not going to be a walk in the park. And you're going to get a quick slap in the face if you lose that game or 2, and it's going to set you up for the rest of the playoffs to be like, all right, we're on a roll. We got to focus in. When you lose that game or 2 to the Nets, you'll be focused, and I think it'll be good for a team like a Milwaukee or like a Boston to maybe slip up against a Nets team when they play them and lose a game or 2. Other teams since the All-Star break to run through it, the Lakers, they've been on a roll. They're currently 10th in the West, hoping to squeeze in with this new lineup. The Clippers have been doing the exact opposite. They're 1-5 since signing Russ. And in all honesty, they should start winning now. They have to. They got to start winning now. Am I wrong? Because if they keep losing and you slip into a play-in game, one game series are scary. You never know what's going to happen. You don't. So if I'm the Clippers, I got to start winning now. Kawhi should stop with this load management dumb stuff, and really just really stop. I hate it. Like, why? Why does load management exist? I don't know. Kawhi. Stop being a little boy or a little girl and play basketball like you're paid to do instead of sitting out. I got to play for the playoffs. Bro, your team is about to slip to the 8 or 9 seed. Like, you got to step up and play now. They need you. They need you, Kawhi. Let's go. I'm looking in the camera and saying this to you, Kawhi. I know you ain't watching. Let's go, Kawhi. Step up. Play some basketball. Come on. The Suns, since KD is averaging 26, 3 and 7 over the past 3 games with them. They're 3-0 with him in the starting lineup, including that chippy close win against the Mavericks the other day, where you saw Luka and Devin Booker get into it. So he's shooting efficiently too. He's shooting 69% from the field and 53% from 3, which is absolutely insane over those 3 games. So he's definitely a great addition for that Suns team. And I feel like could be the addition that could push him over the hump now that CP3 is clearly on the decline. He's not a superstar anymore. You needed that second superstar alongside the superstar of Devin Booker and the star of DeAndre Ayton and the once was star of CP3. I feel like they're definitely dangerous in the West and definitely could go on a run. But them being KD, Devin Booker, all the players on this team have a rap. CP3 even too. They have a rap for not showing up in the playoffs and kind of disappointing in the second round or in the conference championship. So that's definitely something to look out for as we come up on the playoffs, is who this Suns team gets paired up against. Because if it's someone who has good playoff experience, especially if it's like a Lakers team, I'm scared if I'm a Suns fan at that point. Not because you're not good, just because it's like KD has proven that he can't really carry a team in the playoffs. He hasn't, or not. I won't say he hasn't. He's proven that he hasn't. He hasn't proven that he can yet. As good as KD is, he's been the second greatest player I've ever seen with my own two eyes. He's the greatest scorer I've ever seen with my own two eyes. But he has not proven that he could be the guy yet. For some weird reason, he just would never won as the guy because he wasn't in Golden State. He might have been technically the best overall player in Golden State, but Steph Curry was clearly the guy and still is the guy in Golden State. So it's weird to see how that Suns team turns out. Same thing with this Mavs team, who's 4-5 with Kyrie playing point blank period. But with Kyrie and Luka, they're 2-5. They've only won 2 games, and those 5 losses with Kyrie on the team all have been with him and Luka together. So I don't know if you could say this experiment is working or if you're calling this a failure yet. I don't know what you're necessarily calling this at all right now, because they're both playing well. It's weird. They're both playing well individually, right? In the 7 games that they've played together, Luka's averaging 32, 6, and 8 on 50% shooting, and Kyrie's averaging 27, 6, and 5 on 53% shooting. 53% shooting. They're both playing well. They're clearly both playing well individually, but it's not resulting in wins when they play together, which I feel like is odd, which will be important come playoff time, because they will play together come playoff time. Obviously, they're the 2 best players on the team. So will it result in wins? I don't know. Hopefully it does for them. But with the playoffs coming up soon, they got to figure out how this could end up in wins. Because obviously they could score as much as they want. You trade away Dorian Finney-Smith, who was clearly your best defender, looking back at it now. So, like, you got to find something, maybe a free agent, sign someone to really step up with his defense to help it improve, or hone down in practice and say, hey, we're looking like one of the worst defensive teams in basketball right now. Let's step it up. All right. If you're Jason Kidd or whoever the coach of the Mavs is, I believe it's Jason Kidd right now. You have to look at your team. You have to look at Luka. You have to look at Kyrie and go, I need 100% effort on both sides. Luka, I don't care if you go from averaging 32 to 30. Kyrie, I don't care if you go from averaging 27 to 25. As long as that drop in points also goes to drop in points on their side, because we're playing defense now and putting an effort on both sides. That's what the Mavs need. There's a lot going on in basketball, though. It's crazy. It really is. It's insane. You got the Bucks. The Bucks are still sneaky good. They're the Bucks. You got Giannis. I don't know. My pick right now in the East, if we want to go on paper and say my pick as of March 7th for the finals, I'd probably go Boston. I'd probably say a rematch, or not a rematch of last year. I'd probably go Boston, Phoenix, in all honesty, as of the moment. I could definitely see it being a rematch last year, though. You can never count out the Warriors. The Grizzlies seem to be in trouble after this whole Ja Morant situation, which is crazy. What are you doing, Ja? What are you doing? I completely forgot about that. I don't know why I didn't write that down. How do you get caught with a firearm in a strip club, man? Like, how do you bro? Think about all the kids. I heard someone who's from Chicago go on this rant. Luckily, I'm not from an area like this. I will say that first. I'm not going to say this like this is from experience. This is just from other people talking, that I'm repeating other people's words who have grown up in these areas. I did not grow up in an area like this. I grew up in a middle-class area, in a suburb. But for the people who did grow up in these areas where there's gang violence and where there's weapons and where there's all this, and people have to live that life to survive, in all honesty. They do. You got to live that, like some people have to live that life to survive. They will literally die if they don't live that life. Ja is the dream of most of those kids and most of those people who live in that situation, who live in the hoods of Memphis and in the hoods of Chicago and in the hoods of New York and all these all like and all these projects and all these places across America. Your dream is to make it out, and Ja did that. Ja made it out. So why you still putting yourself in the situation and around these people who are going to get you in this situation is just it's concerning. And Ja, get the help you need. Cut off the talk to the people you should talk to and talk to your teammates and have them be completely honest with you and be like, bro, give me a list of people who you feel like, you know what I mean? Don't go off one person's opinion. Go ask a couple people who you feel like is influencing me poorly in my group. And even you look at it and reflect, and you look at who I feel like in my group is influencing me poorly. And you got to cut those people out at this point in your life, Ja. You can't be getting stuck. Not even like, I'm not even going to talk about the rumors of you trying to fight a 17-year-old at a mall and then flashing a gun and that not being caught on video anywhere. I'm talking about you being an absolute, I don't even know the word. I can't say the word on air, but being an absolute idiot, like being the dumbest person I could ever think of in the NBA, and you're flashing your weapon on your Instagram live. Like, what are you doing, bro? In all seriousness, what are you doing? It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. And now we're finding out that if he brought that weapon from Memphis, a gun on a team plane is a 50 game suspension. What are you doing, bro? You're about to be out for the year then. A 50-game suspension at this point is out for the season. And your team's sitting at second in the West, and you're about to ruin your team's championship hopes because you're the best player on that team. And you're about to get suspended for 50 games. You can't be that stupid. You just can't. I don't know how people are. And this is a note to anybody who listens to this in the future, or if you're listening right now, live or on the radio, and you're a college athlete or you're a young player that happens to just happen to scroll across this small show from college. Think before you act, guys. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb, especially if you're in the league. Just think. Just take 5 minutes and think. If Ja took 5 minutes and thought, even bringing the gun, even if you do that, took 5 minutes and thought and went, maybe I should just like not flash it on my Instagram live. Like, come on. You can't be that stupid. That's all I'm done with the NBA for now. I'm done. I'm leaving it on that. That it just bothers me. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the UFC. UFC 285 was this weekend, and that was, I'll say, a lot more exciting. Is definitely a way to put 285 and how that went. My man, Johnny Bones Jones, the champ, is back. Bruce Buffer pulls out his second ever, the one, the only call when introducing Johnny Bones Jones. And my God, was that a masterclass from him? This show is quadruple the length. My rant right now is probably going to be as long as that Jon Jones fight was. Jon Jones came in 2 minutes and absolutely dominated Ciryl Gane, took him to the ground, put him against the cage. And I saw a video of him training with Cejudo. And they trained for this exact situation where Jon puts him against the cage after a takedown, after him trying to get up. You know, they said, Cejudo said, don't try to counter as much. This is word for word what I got from the video. He goes, don't try to counter as much, because when he tries to escape, that's when you flip your hips, you get it in, and you have a choke right there. And it's literally what Jon Jones did exactly for the win, set it up perfectly. And honestly, people want to say it's fixed because it didn't even, in all honesty, it didn't even look like the choke was in completely. But Jon Jones being who Jon Jones is, it could have just been like practically a neck crank instead of a guillotine choke. You know what I mean? Where just the pressure that was being put on Ciryl Gane's head and in the position he was in, also with his neck against the cage like this. Even though that arm might not be under, that pressure that you're getting against your chin could definitely restrict breathing and make someone tap. So an absolute masterclass by the Johnny Bones Jones to come back. And after the fight, even more exciting, he calls out Stipe, who retired. That's out of the way because Stipe came out and said, "Oh, John called me out. I'm about to train my butt off to beat the brakes off of him. Let's go. GOAT versus GOAT. John Jones has to be, he says, I got to be a GOAT. I got to beat a GOAT to be considered the GOAT. I want to fight who people consider the greatest heavyweight of all time, not Daniel Cormier. I already beat him. Give me Stipe Miocic. I cannot wait. Obviously, we don't know when. We don't know where. John Jones is John Jones. This could take 2 years. This could take 3 months. I don't know. But nonetheless, this fight is more likely than not to happen. So I am incredibly excited to see this fight happen, in all honesty, in the future. Alexa Grasso also gets a huge win, a huge surprising win over Valentina Shevchenko, who the fight was pretty even. The fight was a good fight. Grasso definitely dominated the ground the whole fight. Shevchenko dominated the stand-up most of the fight. That's where it became even. Shevchenko throws one spinning body kick, and Grasso timed that takedown perfectly and takes her back and slips right into a rear naked choke in the third round. And shocks Shevchenko, gives her first loss to someone not named Amanda Nunes, her first loss in the flyweight division in 5 years. So Shevchenko, there's definitely going to be a rematch with how dominant her reign was in that flyweight division. There's 110% a rematch set up for that. And I'm excited to see how Shevchenko responds. Grasso surprised. I honestly thought she had no chance. She came up. She surprised. She's the champ. And hopefully she could defend that championship and prove that she's a real baller and she's a certified dog. Because you beat someone like Valentina Shevchenko, that's not easy. You know, John Jones beating Cyril Gane is one thing. You're Johnny Bones Jones. You know what I mean? You walk into that fight considered the greatest of all time. Alexa Grasso is ranked 6th in her division going into this fight, plus 800 underdog. My God, what a class. And respect to you, champ, honestly. Alexa Grasso, respect. First women champion out of Mexico, I believe, too. Second champion out of Mexico after Brandon Moreno. So congrats to her. She gets her 5th straight win to become the new flyweight champion. I believe her next fight, in my opinion, probably is going to be a rematch. If not, there are other flyweights in this division that she can fight to defend that I think she can honestly beat, and I'm excited to see what she does. Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Not really much to talk about in this fight. It was an absolutely dominant performance by Shavkat Rakhmonov, I believe is how you pronounce it. He seems to be an exciting talent in this welterweight division that isn't, I'm not going to say is lacking talent, because definitely not. You have Edwards, you have Usman, you have these people, but it's not overflowing. So there's definitely a gap where you could slip in and maybe try to go sneak up for this belt, especially with Usman. His reign kind of did just technically end, and there's a lot going on in that division where you could sneak in and definitely get at least a shot, if not win the belt. So look out for Shavkat Rakhmonov on the come up. He absolute masterclass for a submission in the third round. He put out Jeff Neal, put him out with a submission, which you love to see sometimes too. But so yeah, he moved to 17-0. He stays undefeated. Also staying undefeated, moving to 4-0 with a first round submission, was the young stud Bo Nickel, who everybody loves to talk about. He moves up to 4-0, beating Jamie Pickett with an absolute dominant ground performance, what everyone expected and more. Literally just took him down with his masterclass wrestling and dominated that whole fight, and gets himself his first official UFC win, and he moves to 4-0 professionally. Great for him. I feel like he's definitely going to be a stud. He definitely proved that he will be a stud, honestly, with that win and how dominant that win was. I feel like his next fight should be someone in the top 15 easily. I think it has to be. If not, maybe someone in like the top 12 in that division. And then the last fight I do want to talk about before I get going, Derek Brunson versus Dricus Du Plessis. That one was exciting. None of these fighters do I see really challenging for the belt in this division, sadly. But Du Plessis and Brunson have a brawl that saw both of them wobbling and stobbling and bumbling and fumbling and throwing haymakers here and there. And oh, Du Plessis just got caught. Oh, Brunson just got caught. Oh my God, Du Plessis just got knocked out. Oh my God, Brunson. Oh, he's out. Oh, that's literally was the fight. It was amazing. So that one was great. That was entertaining. Great UFC event, 285. Now, not this week. Next week, we got the rematch. Usman Edwards 2 in the O2 Arena out there in London, England. I cannot wait to see these Scousers get down and dirty in there in the O2 Arena. I cannot wait. Sorry if that was offensive to anyone. That was absolute atrocious English accent. That was absolutely terrible. I think that was closer to Australian, if anything, if that. But that is all I got for you guys today. Like I said, I didn't really get to touch on it. World Baseball Classic starts tonight. If you guys are interested in baseball, USA, their first game is March 11th at 9 p.m. Studs across the board. Before it starts, to help you out, for you people who bet, the favorites right now are the Dominican Republic, who have a bunch of all-stars. I say bet on the U.S. if you're from the U.S., even though they have the second best odds. But if you are trying to make some money, I say bet on Puerto Rico at plus 2,400 or Venezuela. Both of them are stacked with stars. Venezuela at plus 1,300. Puerto Rico has plus 2,400. They have a team with Javier Baez, Edwin Diaz, Kike Hernandez, Francisco Lindor, Martin Maldonado. So they have studs there. They could definitely squeeze in. But the studs on the Dominican Republic and the U.S. are lists on lists. People, all stars. I think the Dominican Republic, I'm pretty sure, has last year's Cy Young Award winner. So definitely. Oh yeah, they do. They have Sandy Alcantara. So definitely something to look out for you baseball fans and for you betting people. Something fun to bet on. Baseball is fun to bet on. It's the world. You get to root for your country. You get to see players like Mike Trout, Trey Turner, and Mookie Betts all on the same team with Nestor, Cortez pitching, with Clayton Kershaw pitching. So that will definitely be exciting. Thank you all for tuning in today. I'm Logan. This is the Log Show here on WSJU Radio. I'll be back next week. Thank you on everybody on YouTube for watching. Everybody, if you're listening on the radio, please subscribe to the YouTube. If you're on the YouTube, listen to me on iHeart. Logan Lightcap on pretty much all socials. Everybody, please check me out. I will see you guys tomorrow.